at 200 degrees, I take out the 2008 Ford Ranger and discover that the Ranger is the pickup truck's world Mazda Miata. Now I'm going to say this once so I can get it out of the way through my whole review. It's a Ford frickin' Ranger! Now I say that because if the internet has taken to the Miata going, the answer is always Miata, I find it not at all ironic that the Ranger has that same internet meme. You would think it could happen to the Dakota and it could happen to the Colorado, but it didn't. And that stems back to this truck being simple. Ford went, they said, we need to make a small truck. So they took the 4-liter from the F-150 base model, and they took the automatic from the F-150 base model, and they made a truck. And in that simplicity, they made it available to you and I to modify. If you lower a Ford Ranger and go autocrossing, it's cool. If you take one Baja racing, 4x4ing, if you take one on a racetrack, if you make a drift truck, there are rally Ford Rangers. And when they show up, people don't go, oh, it's weird. They go, neat. Simplistic engineering can be considered boring when it's released, but as it holds up to the test of time, it can become endearing. The Ford Ranger kept it simple. They didn't try to redesign anything for this truck. The tailgate is a tailgate. It's not a barn door. It doesn't open sideways or upside down or take 2 fingers to make it turn blue. It's a tailgate. The box size was standard for quarter-ton pickup trucks. It was a 6 foot or shorter. The 8.8 liter or the 8.8 ring gear differential in the middle of this truck was the one that was offered in every Ford from 1901 till 2035. It's a very simple but proven diff that just worked. Ford didn't try to set new records in the interior space game. They said this is what works, it holds people, and they made it function. They carried parts from other Fords, from the switchgear to the radio, but they made something work because they had the parts already. And for the engine of the truck, they didn't try to redesign something new with dual overhead cams and 5-cylinder Chevy. They decided to take the V6 from their F-150 and the Explorer and a couple of proven chassis and plop it in the front with a 4-speed automatic behind it because they knew it would work. Where this ideology falls apart in stock formation though, it hardly made the most dynamic driving vehicle I've ever experienced. I have had a really hard time explaining the driving characteristics until I talked to the owner and said, I'm pretty sure its driving characteristics aren't. It doesn't have any. It kind of just does drive. The steering is alert enough, the gas pedal is responsive enough, the engine is powerful enough. I feel like in the truck world it could use the same description as an 80s Rolls Royce. Everything is adequate. You're going to be able to overheat the brakes real fast. The motor, that's the biggest thing. I was researching this truck and it says it's a single overhead cam. You'd never know it. This is a pushrod engine. I just think they put a single overhead cam stamp on the top of it. It has the low end torque and the smooth driving characteristics of a 90s and 80s pushrod motor, somehow having overhead cams. It is not a revving motor, and that's quite normal with truck engines, but it doesn't, I don't know, this is a sneaky motor because it drives and has the characteristics of a pushrod Ford V6. I've driven 90s Ford Explorers. This is a pushrod motor. I don't care what you or Ford say, that's a pushrod motor. But in the realm of not being too complicated with it, they didn't point it in any one direction, and this goes back to my Miata comparison. The Miata isn't the best handling car in the sports car section, in the same sense that this handles better than a lot of other things, but it's not a lowered 5.9 Dodge Durango RT. They never said it was though. It's very comfortable, and I like that. But I think the Ranger represents more the people that own it than the Ranger itself. Because it is small in here, I think in the same sense of the Miata. I'd have to do a tall guy mod if I really wanted to drive this truck, and let me just exemplify here if I sit up straight, that I don't quite fit in this truck, and that's kind of the same where you can make it fit around you, and that's a me problem, but there are a common issue with the Miata saying tall guy mods. I can see that being here as well. The Ranger isn't a big vehicle, and while you can accept that you're going to use it for what you want to use it for, camping and daily driving and going out into the mountains, it's more than likely a non-materialistic single person's vehicle where they don't have much stuff with them. You can pack it to go camping with 2 people, but you have to plan for it. Most of the time the back seat is full of your stuff, and so it's not really a 4-seater. So it's a truck that you have to accept compromises for, and I think as most people don't want to own something that has a compromise, they won't buy. But they look at the people who accept that they can own a Ranger with the small cab and the smaller dimensions and want to be them, the unencumberedness of, I don't need a big vehicle, therefore I didn't buy one. That simple logic where a lot of us can't get over. And you don't buy a Ranger to be cool. If you wanted to be cool with a pickup truck, you'd buy an F-150 or an F-350 or an F-450 or an F-550. You'd buy the biggest truck you can if you wanted to be cool. But you're not buying a Ranger to be cool. You're buying a Ranger because it fits into what you need it to do. Now, I don't necessarily believe that my review is going to change your mind on whether or not you wanted to buy a Ford Ranger. Rangers seem to be bought by people who need them when they need them. What I wanted to showcase is why this is the staple of a small truck. Because Ford took the very simple recipe of build one and did it. Set no records, break no boundaries, build a small truck. They're very simple, they're very durable, and I hope that maybe the next time you see the meme, the answer is always Miata, you can add to it, the answer is also Ford Ranger. Thank you very much for watching 200 Degrees, and we'll see you next episode.